Welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're taking a look at some Harry Potter fan fiction. You guys sent over some pieces of a story, and we're going to dig into it.
Yeah, we'll be looking at how the author takes on character development and relationships and just reimagines the Harry Potter world in this particular story.
Okay, so right off the bat, we got to talk about Victor Crumb.
Yeah.
He's dead. I mean, that's like the first thing that happens in the story. The author even had like a little chapter note about it.
Yeah, they really wanted to address that right away because it is such a huge change.
I was like, whoa, where are we going with this?
Exactly. They talk about how it affects Hermione, of course, but they also talk about how it affects the wizarding world and how everyone sees Voldemort's return.
Yeah, everyone's taking it seriously right away. No one's questioning if he's back or not.
Right. So, like, what does that mean for Harry and how he understands this threat?
And it just makes you wonder what other big changes the author's going to make.
Totally. It's like they're saying, look, this is my version of the story.
Yeah, buckle up.
Exactly. It really grabs your attention from the start.
Definitely. Okay, now let's talk about Kreacher. He's totally different in this story. In the books, he's, hostile and prejudiced, but here he ends up being a key player in the fight against Voldemort.
And it's not like a sudden shift. It's actually really well done. The author shows his struggle with his loyalties and how his views gradually change.
Yeah, like that scene where Harry finds him grieving over Regulus Black's locket.
Exactly. That's a small moment, but it's so powerful. It shows that Kreacher is capable of love and loyalty.
Which we don't really see in the books.
Right. It's Harry's compassion that kind of brings this out in Kreacher.
Like he treats Kreacher with respect, and that makes all the difference.
Exactly. It makes you think about how powerful empathy can be.
It really does. And it's interesting how the author uses Luna Lovegood, too. She's not just the quirky friend. She's really insightful.
Yeah, she picks up on things that other people miss, like Ginny's newfound happiness.
It's like she sees the world in a different way, and that allows her to understand things on a deeper level.
I like that the author uses her to illuminate these subtle shifts in the characters' emotions and relationships.
Yeah, and she doesn't just talk about Harry and Ginny. She even talks about her own relationship with a girl named Atsi. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it adds to the diversity of the wizarding world, showing that there are all kinds of relationships.
And Harry's totally accepting of it.
Which is refreshing. Okay, but let's move on to the big one, Harry and Ginny. The author really dives deep into their romance.
Oh, yeah. You see it all unfold from their awkward first interactions to, like, really intimate moments.
It's a slow burn, but it works so well.
Like, remember Harry trying to ask Ginny to the Yule Ball?
Oh, it was so awkward, but so relatable.
And then there's that song she writes about Harry with the line, "His eyes are as green as a fresh pickled toad."
Cheesy, but adorable. It gives us a glimpse into Ginny's heart.
Definitely. And the author doesn't shy away from the physical attraction either. There's some pretty steamy kissing scenes.
Yeah, but it's not gratuitous. It feels natural and adds another layer to their relationship.
It just makes them feel more real, like they're two teenagers exploring their feelings for each other.
Absolutely. And it's not just about Harry and Ginny. The author gives attention to the other relationships too, like Ron and Hermione and the twins.
They all have their own struggles and triumphs.
Exactly. But this story isn't all sunshine and roses. The author also tackles some really tough ethical questions.
Like when Dumbledore uses the Imperious Curse on Griphook.
Yeah, that was a big one. It leads to a huge conflict with Kingsley, who is furious with Dumbledore.
I mean, it makes you question Dumbledore's judgment. Is it ever okay to use dark magic, even if it's for the greater good?
And it makes you think about Kingsley, too. He's not just blindly following Dumbledore. He has his own moral compass.
Yeah, he's not afraid to stand up for what he believes in, even if it means going against someone he respects.
Right. And then there's this really interesting moment where Snape is subjected to the Cruciatus Curse, and Harry recognizes it from his own experience.
It's like a silent acknowledgement of shared pain.
It doesn't erase their history, but it adds this layer of complexity to their relationship.
And speaking of complex characters, the author doesn't portray Dumbledore as perfect either.
Yeah, he makes mistakes. He lies to Kingsley. He even breaks down emotionally at one point.
It's kind of shocking to see him so vulnerable, but it also makes him more human.
Exactly. It shows that even the most powerful wizards have their limits. Welcome back. We've already seen how this author takes some big swings, right? Like They're not afraid to explore the darker stuff.
But they also balance it out with some really fun, lighthearted moments. Like that scene with Harry and Ginny wrestling in the orchard at the Burrow.
It's so sweet. You can just feel their connection.
Right. And the author does a great job with that, using those sensory details to pull you into the scene.
Yeah, it's not just telling you what's happening. It's making you feel like you're right there with them.
Totally. I noticed something interesting about how the story is being told in this part, though. When Harry's explaining the Horcruxes to Luna and Atzi, he kind of skips over some of the harder stuff.
Oh, you mean how he doesn't go into detail about how the locket messed with his head?
Yeah, like how it preyed on his insecurities. He's pretty vague about the whole experience.
That's a really clever way of using perspective. We're seeing it all through Harry's eyes, so we only get his side of the story.
So it makes you wonder, is he downplaying it? Or maybe trying to protect Luna and Atzi from the darker details?
I think it's both. He doesn't want to scare them, and he's probably still processing it all himself.
Yeah, that makes sense. And there's that added element of him wanting to protect Ginny's reputation.
Oh, right. He doesn't tell them that the locket showed him and Ginny, undressed.
Yeah, exactly. He's very careful about how he talks about that part.
It shows how much he cares about her. Like,
Yeah.
he's not just thinking about her physical safety. He's thinking about how rumors could hurt her.
It's a subtle detail, but it says a lot about his character. Okay, so we've got all this going on, and then the author throws in time travel. Whoa! Yeah! They introduce this magical ritual that lets you go back and change the past, which, as you can imagine, leads to some pretty big complications.
For sure. It raises questions about fate and whether you can really change destiny.
Right. Like, what are the consequences of messing with the past?
And it gets even more interesting because they decide to send Ginny back in time.
To stop Harry from entering the Triwizard Tournament.
Exactly. They think that by changing that one event, they can prevent Cedric's death and maybe even stop Voldemort from coming back.
That's a huge gamble.
But it's not just about saving Cedric, is it? They also want to help Ginny heal from the trauma she experienced with that diary.
Oh, yeah. That whole possession thing was pretty messed up.
So they're trying to fix the past on multiple levels.
Which is a really ambitious goal. But it makes you wonder, can you really undo that kind of trauma?
That's a tough question. And even with time travel, Ginny's still dealing with a lot of insecurities.
Especially about how Harry sees her, since she's physically younger now.
Right, like she's worried he won't be attracted to her anymore.
And then, on top of all that, there's that scene where Ginny's writing a song about Harry, and he accidentally hears the lyrics.
Oh my gosh, that was hilarious. Classic awkward teenage moment.
She's singing about how his eyes are as green as a fresh pickled toad.
And poor Harry is just dying of embarrassment.
The author has such a great sense of humor. It's like a breath of fresh air in the middle of all the intense stuff.
And it's not just random jokes. The humor feels organic to the characters.
Yeah, like Ron's jealousy and awkwardness are always good for a laugh.
It's like even in the middle of a war, life goes on, and there are still those moments of levity.
Definitely. Okay, but then we get that scene where Harry has a vision of Voldemort torturing Krum, and that is just dark.
It's chilling. The author doesn't sugarcoat the brutality of what Voldemort is capable of.
Right. It's a reminder of the real danger they're facing and the toll it's taking on everyone.
It's not just about physical battles, it's about the psychological impact, too.
Absolutely. I was also really interested in how the author expands on house elf magic in this part.
Yeah, it becomes more than just this whimsical element.
Like, we learn that house elves can't access other wizards' vaults.
Which creates a whole new problem for Harry and the Order when they're trying to get the Horcrux from the Lestrange vault.
It forces them to be even more creative and strategic.
Speaking of creative, the Weasley twins are back at it with their inventions.
The skiving snack boxes, I mean, those are genius.
Pure genius. It's a reminder that even in dark times, there's still room for a little mischief and innovation.
And I love that little hint of Ginny's mischievous side, too. When she mentions those charms she learned from Fleur Delacour, she's like, they could be useful for someone with 6 brothers.
Oh, I caught that. It's like a little wink to the reader, suggesting that Ginny's got a bit of a rebellious streak.
Definitely. This story also doesn't shy away from the political side of things. Like, the Ministry of Magic is in complete denial about Voldemort's return.
It's like they're living in a different reality.
And Umbridge is just, she's even worse in this story.
She's a master manipulator. The way she twists the truth and tries to discredit Harry is so frustrating.
It's like the author is holding up a mirror to real-world problems, like misinformation and the abuse of power.
And it's scary how effective propaganda can be.
For sure. I was also really impressed with the action scenes in this part. The author introduces some new combat techniques, like nonverbal spellcasting.
Yeah, that was cool. It adds a whole new level of skill to the battles.
It's not just about shouting spells anymore. You have to be more strategic and focused.
I love the way the author describes those scenes, too. It's so fast-paced and intense.
And the Chamber of Secrets is so much more terrifying in this story.
Oh my god, yes. Those fiery beasts guarding the diadem.
And the giants attacking Hogsmeade, it just gets crazier and crazier.
It really shows how the war is escalating and the stakes are getting higher.
Speaking of intense moments, that scene where Snape reveals he was subjected to the Cruciatus Curse.
Yeah, that was rough. It really humanizes him in a way.
It makes you realize that even the characters who seem like they're on the wrong side are still capable of suffering.
And it shows how far Voldemort is willing to go.
Totally. And Dumbledore isn't having an easy time either. He's really struggling with the burdens of leadership.
That scene where he breaks down after Kingsley confronts him about using the Imperius Curse, it's heartbreaking.
It shows that even the greatest wizards can make mistakes.
And that the weight of responsibility can be crushing.
This story has been such a wild ride. I can't wait to see how it all wraps up.
Me too. This author has taken us on quite a journey, and I'm sure the ending will be just as thought-provoking.
Okay, so here we are, the final part of our deep dive. I'm so curious to see how everything comes together.
Me too. The author's really built up the suspense, like Voldemort's got the upper hand, and it feels like anything could happen.
Yeah, and there's still so many questions about Snape. Is he good? Is he bad? I'm still not sure.
I know, the author keeps us guessing, right? Like, we see him being so cool, but then we get these hints that he's trying to protect Draco.
Yeah, like that scene where Harry overhears Snape warning Draco about Voldemort. It's like, what is Snape's endgame?
It's such a fascinating character study. And it really makes you think about the complexities of this world. Like, even the good guys have to make tough choices.
Yeah, there's a lot of moral gray area.
Yeah.
Okay, but then we get to that epic battle in the Room of Requirement.
Oh my god, that was intense. Harry and his friends versus Draco and Daphne and their crew.
Like, all-out war in Hogwarts.
And the way the author uses the Room of Requirement is just brilliant. It's like this ever-changing battleground with walls appearing and disappearing and obstacles popping up out of nowhere.
Yeah, I love that detail about it turning into a labyrinth. It creates this really claustrophobic, disorienting feeling.
Like you're trapped in there with them. And it mirrors the characters' emotional states, too. They're all confused and scared and fighting for their lives.
It's not just about winning the fight. It's about saving Draco's soul.
Exactly. Harry doesn't want Draco to become like Voldemort. He's trying to show him there's another way.
There are some amazing moments of bravery in that scene, too. Like when Ginny takes out Umbridge and that other Ministry witch.
Oh, yeah. She's not messing around. It's like she knows what's at stake, and she's not afraid to fight for it.
And then Blaise Zabini joins Harry's side. Like, what? A Slytherin choosing to fight against Voldemort.
That was such a powerful moment. It shows that anyone can break free from the expectations of their house, you know? You don't have to follow the crowd.
It's all about choosing what you believe in, even if it's hard. Okay, but then we get to the ending, and I gotta say, it hit me hard.
I know, right? It's bittersweet. Like, they win the battle, but then...
Dumbledore reveals that Snape has been tortured by Voldemort.
With the Cruciatus Curse, yeah. And it's just heartbreaking. It makes you think about all the suffering that's happened behind the scenes.
And it makes you see Snape in a whole new light.
Yeah, you realize that even the characters who seem strong and unbreakable are vulnerable to pain.
And then that final scene between Harry and Snape.
So powerful, right? No words spoken, but you can feel the weight of everything that's happened between them.
Like a silent acknowledgement of their shared pain. And maybe, just maybe, a hint of forgiveness.
It's a beautiful way to end the story. It leaves you with this feeling of hope, even in the midst of all the darkness.
This whole fan fiction has been amazing. Honestly, it exceeded all my expectations.
Me too. It takes the world of Harry Potter and explores it in such a thoughtful, complex way.
It's made me think about these characters and their motivations in a whole new light, and it's reminded me of why I love fan fiction in the first place.
It's a way for fans to take these stories that mean so much to them and make them their own, you know?
Exactly. And for those of you listening, we encourage you to keep exploring. The world of fan fiction is vast and full of incredible stories waiting to be discovered. So go out there and find the ones that speak to you. And who knows, maybe you'll even be inspired to create your own.